Hello, hello. How are you, everybody? Thank you for joining us on What's Up Wrestling, our Thursday night edition. Scott Fishman from TV Insider, Wrestling Inc., and everywhere else is with us tonight. Good to see you.
Thank you again. I think we're creating something really fun here, so it's great to be back. Starting to
It
look forward to it every week.
I know. It's nice to be able to talk wrestling with somebody, but as Scott said, it's like, are we just going to talk to ourselves? I'm like, no, we're going to have other people hopefully join us because we want you guys to join us in the chat. We want your comments. We want you to participate. We want to hear what you have to say because, as you know, wrestling fans, they kind of are such a big part of making the whole thing go, right? Just like how the stories might go, what the crowd response is, it's such a big part of it. There's been a lot going on, Scott, and I wanted to get your opinion, first of all, on, I was surprised at this and I wanted to know your take. So we've got Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens for the title at Bash in Berlin. And I really thought this kind of made no sense. Do you think there's a bigger story going on here? Because I just thought, so you're making me believe that the good guy heel is going to go to his bestie friend and be like, hey, I'll give you a title shot. And the guy's like, I don't really want it. And then it happens. So what did you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly interesting because, you had the match Cody and Solo at SummerSlam, and you figure there would be some sort of continuation of that in some way, like a tag match or something like that. But I guess they want to give the Bash in Berlin folks an actual title match, and they're kind of revisiting this. But they're kind of throwing it out there, that Kevin Owens would, getting a title shot doesn't feel like he earned the title shot. And it was really weird because they were trying to convince him. That whole segment with Nick Aldis, I just thought was very forced.
It felt
and they were trying to come up with something. And the fact of the matter is there's only a little bit of time between shows of SummerSlam and this. So they're just trying to get through it. I think they have a show coming up, and unfortunately, they probably looked at it. Let's have a match. We know Kevin Owens is solid. We know Cody Rhodes is solid. Let's get through this show, and then maybe we can pick up. I hate to say it, but it feels like a placeholder match, and I haven't felt that in a long time. But I'm feeling it with this, which is really sad because Cody is supposedly like the top guy in the company and, deserves a little bit better thought process when it comes to storylines and building. But, just sometimes you got a little stop in the road and then you have this going on. I mean, we'll see where it leads. Maybe this is going to add another layer to the story with the bloodline. So,
well, I was thinking, and I'm still back on my whole Randy Orton's going to swerve Cody thing. I wonder if that plays into this somehow because Randy is going against a Gunther at Bash in Berlin. So I wonder if he loses and something transpires and somehow I don't know what, but there's something with that because I don't see what the purpose of this match is. And as I told you on the other show we recently did, I just have not been thrilled at Cody's title run because I don't think the competitors have been big opponents. But you may feel differently. I mean, I understand AJ Styles. I understand, Solo, but it doesn't feel big.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the storyline with AJ Styles, but the fact of the matter is they weren't going to let him lose the title. So I think not having that suspense for a little while, I think that's also because what was so great about the Roman Cody match and story is there was always the doubt: is he going to lose? Is he going to win? There was some sort of drama, and in this case, there isn't that drama because you're like, okay, there's no way the title is going to change hands here, so you lose a little bit about that. It's not to say that you're not going to see a good match or, there's going to be some good parts of a story, but it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if just takes me back to when Shawn Michaels finally won the WWF Championship for the first time at WrestleMania 12. When you look back at that and then you see the matches, it was like one after another of just random opponents and just story of the week sort of thing, opponent of the week. That's what I'm seeing comparison. That's what it reminds me of is, so that's kind of where I'm getting there because Shawn Michaels worked so hard. Everyone wanted him to have that big moment, finally winning the championship. Here we are. And then, all these kind of rotating opponents start popping up. So that's kind of like where we are, I think, when it comes to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. So then the other thing I wanted to talk about was I do want to discuss, Roman. I thought, and we're backtracking just to last Friday on SmackDown. We have the new SmackDown coming up. But I want to talk to you about this because, first of all, I hope I can play this music. I love the new Roman theme. I'm all for it because it's an altered theme. I want to see if I can pull it up, but I really love it. I'm like, oh, I really like this. The same thing when Bayley's theme changed at WrestleMania. I was like, oh, I really like this. And is this more the face Roman music, or just or it's more of the I really love the music change, and then that pop was insane on SmackDown when he came out. But but they kept him away. There was no Jacob Fatu in this because I think he's going to be the biggest one of the group that he would have to overcome of the bloodline. So what did you think about his emergence on SmackDown? Were you disappointed? Did it live up to anything for you? Where did it leave you by the end of it?
Obviously he brings such a great big star energy and aura to his, he has such a big presentation at this point with Roman does. And, you see that with the reaction he's getting, just huge reactions, such a draw. And,
they're cheering. They're cheering him, right?
And they wanted to cheer him. It's not like a forced cheer too, which is, we haven't seen that before. Before it was like Roman, when it was the Shield, it was almost like, okay, it's Roman. We're like Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, okay, and Roman. So that's kind of like how it was for the longest time. And then they kept force feeding us, like, we don't want Roman. And then it's like when you grow up with you're taught eat your vegetables, and you're like, I don't want to eat my vegetables. And now you get older and you get wiser and smarter, and you're like, these vegetables aren't so bad. Not that I'm calling, Roman Reigns a vegetable here, but maybe I am. I don't know what I'm going through.
Otherwise, as a vegetable.
But I'm thinking, yes, it was great to have him, but as we talked about in the last show, it's very important that they build this bloodline up to be a threat, a viable threat. So if this dude can run through everyone and that quickly, it's not. What am I watching here? Like, what's getting me to watch? We have to have something where Roman is coming back up, crawling his way back up. And I thought we were going to get a little bit more of that than we did. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was a little lame with the two guys solo out in the ring. They're obviously saving Fatu.
Yeah, and rightfully so. That was a smart move.
So that was a smart move because I can see this building towards Fatu versus Roman. That has to be a big match, right? And all of it, to your point, has to be him he's got to climb his way back up. I still think it's going to come upon, he's going to ask all those guys, will you come back and wrestle with me at Survivor Series?
But you need to get to that point. He's got to he's got to get beat down bad. To force himself to go to them for help.
All of them for help.
Or Roman's getting beat up so bad and he's just he doesn't know any better. He just keeps fighting and fighting. And then that's when the others come up and be like, listen, I'm seeing what's happening to you. I know we have a history, but I'm seeing what's going on here and I don't like it. Let me help you, kind of thing. And Cody might step in and be that also, because what transpired at SummerSlam, they can build from there. So I think that's what's going to be coming up. But they have to stretch this out a little longer, which is why Kevin Owens.
Right. And I was going to also say, this is very unique. Roman was so over. They were so crazy. He's like, our new baby face is Roman Reigns, right? It's so where you got Cody, who's monster baby face, and Roman? Can you have them both be baby faces living in this world? And then what do you do if you pit them both against each other in a rematch at that point? Like, where do you see they're both, that's
That's
interesting.
going to be the dilemma. Yeah, that'll be a little bit. Well, it'd be interesting to see how they've have this play out. I mean, they have shown before that they do listen to the audience, and they kind of can take that in mind when they go through things, which is also is always a good thing. But sometimes it can be a bad thing. But because sometimes we don't know any better, and we think we know everything, but they may come up with something that surprises us and is good. But it kind of reminds me of like with Rock and Austin, where they had two baby faces at one time. And then you see how they manage that. So it'll be interesting if they pull from that history and kind of go from there. A lot of people, out there think that Cody isn't really, the baby face that we think he is. Like, there's little elements of him where people can pull from, and they're always trying to find, because this is a cynical world we live in here. They're always trying to pull little things to make him, appear not like maybe he's not the good guy that we think he is. Like, he wears these suits and just kind of sometimes his promos, it could easily go in a different direction. So I'm not sure if they will go in that direction because of, the draw on the kids and the merchandise.
And the kids. And I was thinking, like, with Roman, I could actually see it the other way, where Roman, is the face and gets everybody on his side and does everything just to get back to being the tribal chief and the head of the table and in charge of everything. And then he flips and goes back to his old ways. Something like that. Although that would be kind of boring. We've seen it already. But yeah, I was wondering how they would exist in this world. And would Cody, I think we talked about this last time, but would Cody want to be a heel?
I don't know. I think he enjoys what he's doing, and he likes the connection with the people, and he's doing all these great things. He has all that politician mentality in a lot of ways, and
which is scary. He's gonna end up running for office.
I mean, if Donald Trump become president of the United States, nothing, anything can happen.
Cody Rhodes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, governor of California. Jesse Ventura.
I have an Arnold Schwarzenegger story.
All right.
Okay. So I was China's publicist for a while. After she had left WWE, we were close friends. I became her publisher. She was trying to do stuff, and she got invited to Arnold Schwarzenegger's swearing-in ceremony as the, governor of California.
Governor.
Yeah, the governor. So we went to Sacramento together. Me and China flew to Sacramento to go to the swearing-in ceremony. Like, think of how surreal this is. I'm at Arnold Schwarzenegger's thing, and I'm sitting here with China. The whole thing was just so bizarro to look back on it, but we went together. China and I went to Schwarzenegger's thing, and then there were like these little parties afterwards, and I just remember thinking, this is so odd, but like amazing in the way. But yeah, so that was, when was that? 2004, something like that.
It's been a while ago, obviously, with China being gone
after I was gone from WWE and she was gone from WWE, we reconnected. She was living in California, and I worked with her for a while after, because she was trying to do stuff. This is before things got so off the rails for her. But I always felt so terrible for her, and we had at one point a really good friendship. But that's the Schwarzenegger story.
Did you get to meet him?
I felt like I shook his hand, but that's about it. I kind of remember that. But he knew her. Like, they knew each other.
Right. Was there a photo op between the two? I mean,
there must
be a photo somewhere.
There must be a photo somewhere. But anyways, sorry about digressing.
No, I love it.
I wanted to ask you also, today we were talking about Matt Riddle. So now Riddle is in the news because apparently him and Roman Reigns couldn't get along. Did you read that? Like, what is the deal there? They had to be kept apart. I mean, this Riddle seems to be like Mr. Problematic every which way go here.
Well, if you think back, I mean, he's had issues with Seth Rollins and, other people as well. So this is not surprising. I'm not sure what it is with Matt Riddle. I mean, I'm not hearing any stories in MLW. So maybe
Right.
he's kind of learned from the history.
Yeah.
But every time I've interacted with him, he's actually been very professional and uh, very thoughtful answers and kind of genuine. Comes off as a genuine person. As soon as just a couple months ago when I interviewed him when he came back to MLW. So it's interesting to hear these stories. There's always three sides to every story. So I'm not sure, but he definitely has a history, definitely has a past. He's a controversial figure. So, hearing this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's like there is so much in the wrestling news every day that people extrapolate. We do this in every area of entertainment, but they're like
Yes.
extrapolating this quote and that quote, which leads me into digressing out of this. I want to talk about what the hell.
Great Britt Baker photo.
Girl, Brit Baker, DMD. And because you remember my running joke was, where's Britt Baker, DMD? Until she finally showed up a few weeks ago. What is with Max? Like, he made that statement, right, about what happened in the locker room. And does that sound like something I would do? I would never do with a woman and a punch a wall. What do you think is really going on there?
I don't know. It's really sad to see. And it's interesting because this is happening again closest to all in.
Always.
We've had it's always close to like a big event. It's very bizarre the timing of this. Always there's close to a big event. You're having this whatever drama kind of unfolding again. And it always leads to sometimes for story
walls or people.
Yeah. And we've had Britt Baker has we've heard stories with her and other people too, which so both have histories. So you're not like, I mean, he's true though, you're not going to get along with everyone that you work with.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's the whole thing, and it's hard for us to speculate on what actually happened with Alicia, his girlfriend or fiance, I'm not sure, girlfriend. And going back to Max and saying, he said, she said, and all that stuff. And it's interesting though that Britt was the one that got suspended, and then you don't hear about MJF getting any kind of suspension or something like that. Because when it happens with two parties, I mean, it's interesting to see that. So that's another thing. Like, it's an investigation. I mean, it's interesting because if you work at a different business where you're not in the spotlight, these things could be happening and you have no idea. And now here it comes to the forefront.
Do we know why was she suspended though? Like, what did she do?
I mean, that's not really, we've never really been given like the official reason. I mean, of course, they made it part of a storyline reason, but as far as like, what was the infraction that she had done that caused her to get suspended and not, Max, if there was some sort of interaction. And I mean, she can have an opinion though. That's the thing. Like, if that was the reason, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if I'm at work, you're going to talk about coworkers. You're going to talk about other things that are going on at work. I mean, and someone says something and then, I don't know, it's very weird to me. I mean, there's got to be more to this than, we are seeing. At least I hope there is, because if that was, it doesn't make any sense that she's got suspended and then, he didn't, if whatever.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, and there she was on Dynamite. So
I'm happy though the match is still moving forward because
I love DMD and
she's great. Yeah,
I really do. I think she's great. I mean, and who would ever think that, like, I'm a dentist really by day and I'm like a wrestler? Is she still doing dentistry?
Someone told me she wasn't. I'm not sure, but just the fact that she was doing that on the regular, like,
I know.
She's like a superhero in a lot of ways. It's like, how are you like going in and you're a freaking dentist, and then you could just do that, but no, she's like, oh, I'm gonna also be a pro wrestler too. And she would talk, I've interviewed her a couple times in the past, and she would talk about like hopping on and off planes and going right into her office and taking patients.
That's right.
Crazy.
I read that. I read your interview with her about that.
Yeah. So she would like talk about her schedule, and she does it right here in Orlando, and it's just crazy. How you maintain a schedule. I can't think of like how you juggle all that.
Wait. Where is her dentistry thing? In Pittsburgh?
Well, she had in Orlando. Last I checked, she had an office where she was working out of. But just the fact that she was doing all those things on top of everything else, and it's just crazy how that kind of came about. But one of the nicest people I've interacted with in wrestling.
So glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear because
And then when I had my fundraiser thing for the YMCA, she was one of the ones that donated pretty substantial amount of money. Her and Natalia, I'll always be grateful for them for that. And so, they're sharing things, and it's like, so when I hear like all these stories, I'm like, I don't know. It's just some people just are, don't get along, and I guess that's just how it is in this case. But
now, do you have any indication of what the hell's going on with Adam Cole?
Yeah, it's like we haven't heard much about that.
Between the two of them, like she disappears, then he just comes back, disappears, which leads me to believe I'm concerned about him. I wonder if the brain, like something is still wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not there. Unless he's coming back to All In.
I mean, it could be. I mean, he's been doing his Twitch or whatever, his with his video game network and stuff, and so he's been still doing that. And you see photos of him here and there, but it's just interesting how he just kind of came back, and then he kind of had to step away again. And there's a lot of speculation, and you don't hear a lot about Britt and Adam, so it's like,
unless are they
it's none of our business. It's none of our business, of course, what's going on, but aside from what we're seeing on camera. But you definitely are concerned with him because there's a guy who like had all the talent and popularity and everything going on, and it just seems like can't catch a break. It's one thing after another. So it's really sad to see someone who came in with such big fanfare and had big momentum going, starting out coming from WWE and doing all the great things that he did there and trying to make something up in AEW. And it just, and then he had the thing with MJF that was really great. That was one of the best things in AEW. And then, so hopefully that another one of the genuinely great, nice people in pro wrestling, like just such a nice guy. So
you had this week a great interview with Tony Khan. So tell me about the Tony Khan interview. And I read it, and he talked to you a little bit about All In and some other things. And now we learned today that All In 2025 is going to be in Texas, and then it's returning in 2026 to London. How was Tony, and what was your takeaway from your interview with him? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like I've been talking to him this year. Like it seems like every couple of months, like they'll set me up with talking to him. You never know what you're gonna get with him. He likes to listen to the question and then think about things a long time, and then try to answer the question. But I think right now he's very thoughtful in like how he kind of responds to things, because he's very aware that anything he says is going to get taken either out of context or it's going to get pulled apart. And I saw it like in real time yesterday, and I've been seeing it every time that, I drop an interview with him. It's like, every little morsel, they'll like take it and take it and take it and take it. And then like every response. And I try to ask questions that I know that I think I'm going to get like an actual answer to. And it could be tricky, I mean, he has a business to protect and everything, but I also have a right to ask certain questions and hope to get some sort of answer. Sometimes, let's be honest, he'll go around the question, and try to use it to promote whatever he's going to promote. I mean, I just hope like when he gets to that point, he'll kind of bring some, something to the table when it comes to a response. So, he was not. It's interesting that he's been pushing like not just one announcement, but multiple announcements. Like coming after another, and then we saw that like different components of that. So we saw already this week, the girls' soccer team Fulham getting AEW on the soccer jerseys.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing the announcement with the stadium show. So the one everyone's kind of looking for is that TV deal question. TV deal.
Did you ask that?
Yeah, I mean, in a certain way, I did it because I've asked him that in the past, and he's not going to say out of the. He's just going to be like, yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be great. We have great meetings, blah blah blah. He kind of, if you kind of read the interview, he kind of does say a little bit without saying anything at all. Like he talked about going to Paris, and I got a good Guy Fieri story out of it, and but also talking about how he was invited there to meet, but also just hang out with the Warner Brothers Discovery people. And they still have, I don't know. I feel like you're not going to be doing all those things if you're on your way out, of a television deal. Like, I feel like if you wouldn't, I feel like if you're at the end of your deal, and you're looking at your next partner or whatever's coming, you're not going to be hanging out with Zasloff and everybody else, all the big wigs of Warner Brothers Discovery, and so I think that's very telling. And what we're going to be seeing, of course, all signs are leading towards like what's going to happen when it comes to this television deal. But it's just the timing of everything. It's just really crazy in the television landscape. I mean, you hear about Paramount shuttering the Paramount TV, and then you hear about the layoffs of Warner Brothers Discovery. Like some people I know within the PR space and other elements of media are getting laid off or leaving the company. So all this is happening at the same time as and you hear about the NBA and the TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery on that end, and then here is AEW just happened to be having their deal come up. The timing of everything.
I can't imagine, though, before we move on, I just can't imagine they keep Rampage just seems like such a throwaway show. And
But
maybe I know they're trying to fix it. I mean, I just don't know if it's sustainable, but unless they just feel Warner Brothers, this is like steady, cheap programming they can put, it's not going to cost a lot. It's like they're in a ring. There's not tons of other elements to it. It's not a highly produced thing, even though it's produced well. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The question is, though, it's like, because you can air Big Bang Theory or something like that, like a rerun, and not have to pay anything extra. But in the case of Rampage, it's like it's a show that's taped most of the time. It's an hour long, so they have to film maybe 2 or 3 matches, and it's like, it's almost like they don't want to give too much away anymore, where before it was like, okay, Rampage is this, this, and this. And then it changed the identity. The identity of the show changed down the line. And, it's getting like 300,000 people or 200,000. But when you think about it on a Friday night, like a lot of people aren't thinking about this. Yeah.
Get late at night, right. Does that, wait. So for me, I get it at 10 o'clock. Is that when you get it? East Coast?
Yeah, I get it at 10 o'clock. Yeah.
Right. So we're both getting it at our own times, 10 o'clock.
Time. Yeah.
It's late.
But for me, like a lot of people, we have to kind of look at the television landscape right now and how things are. Like if Dynamite is getting like 700 to 800,000 people, that's still actually a good number when you think about it compared to other programming going on in the space. Like you can get 700 or 800,000 people and be the number one, show on cable. A lot of times. So when you think about that, TBS, TNT executives looking at that. But then the question of, is the advertising going to, match it? And that's always been the question, which is why SmackDown, with Fox, and you're like, you have this huge, highly rated program, but then you're questioning, like, are they having issues getting advertising? I mean, I always see Progressive as the main sponsor every SmackDown, but
every match
beyond
flow.
that, match flow.
Wow.
So it's interesting because TV wants content, but at the same time they have to have a balance with the advertising. So it's like it's both have to hit, it seems like, at the right point. Like you can have less ratings, but then be attractive to. You can have like the Real Housewives getting like 700 or 600,000 viewers, and then that's like huge because you have the advertisers that want to work with them.
Right. Well, today I was very excited that Jen Pepperman was on AEW Unrestricted. And, I posted this on my website, and I will read the quote because I thought this is a great quote. Jen Pepperman is now the VP of Content Development at AEW after her stint for 7 years at WWE and after her stint in soap operas as a director of As the World Turns and executive producer at One Life to Live. She said, "It's not that different than a soap opera, except in professional wrestling, we have a good guy and a bad guy in dramatic conflict, but that conflict is solved by fighting in a wrestling ring, whereas in a narrative drama, it's solved by, someone gets shot, someone gets stabbed, people fall in love, people get divorced, someone's cheating on someone. The conflict is solved by fighting in a ring." So there's a ton of similarities between soap operas and wrestling. I rest my case.
But let's be honest. I mean, we've had murder, on TV. We've got people getting written off the show and people cheating on everyone. And
Dominic,
we're getting the same. There's really no difference.
There's
in
no
a lot of ways.
So she's saying this, and I'm like, yeah. And I did tell you my Jen Pepperman story. Did I not with One Life to Live? Or no?
I think you may have. I'm not sure, but obviously, people on here, not everyone had heard it, so you might as well since you brought it up. So,
anyways, when One Life to Live was being relaunched online with Prospect Park after it was canceled by ABC, Jennifer Pepperman was made the executive producer of One Life to Live. So it was canceled at ABC. They were bringing it back online with Prospect Park. It's going to be on Hulu. This is like in 2013. It's all new territory. Nobody knows what to do. They put the sets in Stamford. It was in Stamford, Connecticut, where we shot the show, which is where WWE is.
Interesting.
So the studios were in Stamford, and they were really built up. They spent so much money on the studio and so much money on the production, but there were other things they didn't spend the money on properly, like promoting it. But Jen was the executive producer of One Life to Live, and I was the consultant for Prospect Park on the entire project. So that's how we worked together for that time while she was there and I was there. So that's how we got to know each other. So it was so interesting. I had worked for WWE back in 2000. Now she's at AEW and was WWE. It's just very interesting. There is a commonality to it, like we talked about. But yeah.
I think, we were talking about getting guests, starting to get guests on the show. Maybe you want to try to reach out and see. I would love to get
guess who I texted today. Guess who I texted today?
Nice. Yeah.
Already done.
Great minds, great minds.
I was like, hey, I've got this show. Great thing on AEW Unrestricted, blah, blah, blah. I reached out to her after I saw
and you had a little reason to reach out. I loved hearing you on it. I like it.
Yeah. So
segue.
And I wrote a whole article on her today. It's on my website.
Did you share it with her?
Yes. I tagged.
Okay. Did she respond?
No.
Well, she is a little busy right now.
I'm wondering, is it me or is she just really busy? But no, I tagged Jennifer Pepperman on X. She follows me on X. So yeah. But it's interesting to hear her talk on the podcast because it's like everything that you and I have talked about soaps and wrestling and her background and how it's worked. And then she did talk about one of the reasons was, as you know, Mercedes Moné, because she wanted to work with Mercedes and they worked together at WWE when she was Sasha Banks. Well, they were close from what I understand.
Yeah, she apparently helped write her promos and scripts and things. So they kind of worked on it's kind of very similar to the relationship I feel with The Rock and Brian Gewirtz.
Brian Gewirtz, yep.
Gewirtz, yeah. It seems like they have kind of the similar bond where they just get each other and it just kind of works.
Well, funny enough, when I was at WWE, Brian and The Rock, that was going on then when I was writing and Brian was the lead writer and he was working with The Rock. This was back in 2000, 2001. They were super tight and they were the ones that's who he worked with. Like Rock was only working with Brian. So they had that's how many years ago? That's 25 years ago. Like even back
By the way, read his book. If you haven't read his book, it's a good book. It's a good read.
I know. I want to read his book. Did he give any secrets away?
I I don't know about secrets per se, but it was cool to get the perspective.
Yeah.
What was that? Yeah.
Did
Like, I'm sure you have a lot of stories that you might
yeah.
share with us or
Yes.
not as time
Well,
goes on.
I was on Vince's plane with him. I'll just say that.
There you go.
There you go. So what do you think about this Mercedes Moné? And we talked about this last time. What are they going to do with All In then? Do you see Britt winning or Mercedes still being the champ?
So, and it's interesting real quick with the Jen thing. It's like the timing of it is, I feel like the women's division and the storytelling and the spotlight has kind of increased substantially. I don't know if the timing, fits because with her impact or not, but you're definitely kind of seeing a lot of stories going on. I mean, I don't know if you caught it last Saturday on Collision with Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa. Wow, what a bloody brawl, like bull rope match.
It bloodied her up, and then she went, and then I was went Mira at the end. She was really good.
Oh, what a visual! Like, oh man, and then Mariah May and Toni Storm, and then now, like you said, going back to it is the Mercedes story with Britt Baker, and you have Camille in the mix as well. So it's for me, I don't know. Are we going to get somebody helping Britt Baker, maybe from her history? There's a certain someone that's been out for a little while.
Jamie Hayter, London.
Yeah. So what a pop that would getting her back into the fold. Some sort of equalizer. Maybe Britt doesn't win because of Camille, and then Camille and Mercedes beating up Britt, and then in comes Jamie setting up a tag team match. So that's kind of how I see it playing out. I don't see Britt winning the championship.
That is why they pay you the big bucks.
I want to see
Jamie Hayter. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt so bad. Jamie wasn't able to perform before her, hometown fans last year, and this kind of gets that going. I'm not sure the status of her. I haven't read, on her status yet, or right now. So, but that would be perfect. I think a way to bring her back is kind of that equalizer. As much as I would love to see Rebel Reba back as well, I think I loved their dynamic. So, anyway, I think some sort of help for Britt is what's going to happen. But I don't think Mercedes is going to lose, though. But we'll talk about that, I guess, when next week, maybe.
Next week. All right. Yeah. I do want to touch upon this whole thing with Bryan Danielson that played out yesterday on AEW Dynamite. So we get this big segment about Bryan's retrospective of his career. And we do understand that the way this is being is that this is it for him. He's going to have neck surgery. Is he going to go out a champ? He's never won the AEW title. Number one, and I hated that interview though with JR. I just didn't like it. It's like, why are they? I feel bad. JR's not in good shape. They're putting him on screen. I don't love that.
I mean, I could see both sides of it. Jim Ross has such a love and a passion for wrestling. He wants to contribute in some way.
I know.
And I don't know, maybe they do it over the phone. Or no, I don't want to say that. But people's reactions though are so I get your concern, but also people are just so cruel on there on social media.
Very cruel.
Here's a guy who has done so much, gave everything to, and the stuff that he's gone through. If you follow, he's fallen, he's fought cancer, he has Bell's palsy, he's done all this stuff, and he still wants to. The guy probably has so much money in the bank and everything, and he could just hang out.
He loves it,
but he genuinely wants to be there, and he wants to contribute, and they want him to do. And then, so I don't know. I don't have as much a problem with it as other people have it, but I get people being concerned, but at the same time,
where do you stand in this Bryan Danielson thing? My question is, where is this going? Is he really going to leave? Does he leave? Is he going to say goodbye? Is this just part of the setup, or is it because he should go? Maybe it's time for him to go, get his neck surgery, and go. But is this going to be played out? Is he going to win and then leave? and then vacate the title. That's what I would do. If you're going to go out a champ, have him win, he leaves a champ and he's done, and you vacate the title and you have a whole thing for title turn.
So, it's interesting. Again, going back to the Tony Khan interview, we talked about Bryan Danielson and
I read that. Yes.
What he's meant to AEW. And, if he had his way, he wants him to stay, even after he retires, to be part of the organization. And, and rightfully so. The guy has such a great mind for the business. And he's almost like a calming waters backstage. And I'm sure having him back there as a veteran bring a lot of insight. But just the amount of matches, his body of work, though, has been incredible. And you look at the 3 years he's been in AEW, just some of the best matches we've seen. But at this point in his career, he was talking more about, remember when this all was being announced, that he would be stepping away from full-time wrestling, not, fully. But now it seems like the narrative has changed a little bit, but that might be because they're building up with the story, making it seem like it's a career match. But I feel like Bryan would not be in a story where, he's putting his career on the line and then losing and then his career is over and then coming back and then, going back on that. I don't see him doing that. He really has nothing to prove at this point in his stages of his career. But, you have a guy like Swerve Strickland who you're building up and to be a top guy and, the future of AEW who you want to build around. And this is a big opportunity, unfortunately, for Bryan and Bryan Danielson fans to really kind of cement his legacy and his history on this big stage. And Bryan is all about, doing that, is elevating other people.
Elevating people.
I think he realizes what an opportunity this could be for Swerve. So I would not be surprised if Swerve ends up, beating Bryan and that's it. And he's the guy that did it.
And then that's it. And Bryan will leave.
And then that's it. Yeah.
And he leaves. Yeah. I could see that. That could be an emotional moment at All In. I mean, I think the All In card is stacking up to be really good, actually. I don't know how you feel about it.
I do. We'll run it down, but there's going to be like 450 matches. And, a 7 hour, 0 hours, 0 hour is going to be 0 hours. And then the whole show will be, I tried to get Tony to kind of talk about the challenge of putting together a show like this one and then having another show right after it. And then, creating a schedule that's now like a monthly schedule rather than it being a, every couple of months thing, which I really enjoyed that format, but I get trying to make more money and everything like that. But at the same time, you want to make this show feel special. And I feel it doesn't get the chance to stay special because you're already going to be building to the next show right after this, which, that's been the problem. That was the problem last year.
Which is why I've been loving, in a broad stroke, the WWE PLEs, because they're 5-6 matches. It's in and out. It's
different focuses too. Different focuses. You might have different people on the show. You don't have to throw everybody in the same show.
I'm like, and when I watch some of the AEW shows, I'm like, they forgot about Joe Blow, so they're throwing him in here. You know
Casino
what I mean?
Battle Royal.
Casino Battle Royal. Let's have a
Casino Gauntlet.
Like,
but, I mean, I don't know if that's going to change, if or when they move their streaming to Max and it's becoming more of a Peacock sort of model. That might be coming, factoring it in. But one thing I'm going to be enjoying is when Tony mentioned that, and you see it on the schedule, is they're moving the shows or having the shows on Saturdays as opposed to Sundays. I think that is also a good thing. Yes. He says because of football. So we'll see when it comes to that. But one thing overall, I think I want to give credit where credit's due when it comes to AEW is I feel like they're letting things breathe a little more on the actual shows, the TV shows, and they're actually flowing a little more, better. It's like an easier watch where before it was like a lot of things happening at once. Bam, 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 bam. Where now it's kind of like last night I thought was a really strong show because you had everything. It wasn't just matches for the sake of matches, promos for the sake of promos. Everything was made to advance the story. And you also had the matches themselves meaningful, great matches, but those video vignettes and those video packages, I feel like having those were do a lot more than just having one, 5-7 minute match of meaningless, wrestling. Where here you had some really great stuff, like the Darby Allin promo was tremendous. The storytelling with Mariah May, and of course the Bryan Danielson one. Which another thing I want to give Tony Khan credit for is he invests in the music. Like he'll get the original music if he knows it fits the occasion. And I hear Green Day, "Hope You Have the Time of Your Life," which is everyone's like graduation song if you graduated in the 2000s or late 90s. Well, and then also, and then when you hear the music from. And then you hear the music from Bush, like when they're talking about All Out. I'm like, I am here for this. This is great.
I do want to say, when I used to watch Dynamite or any of them, I did get a bit of agita watching it. It's like there's so much going on.
And not a good way. Like
not a good way. I'm like,
I have anxiety. What's happening?
I was, especially when they went, and then coming up, and then everybody,
God bless Excalibur, because
I love Excalibur.
It was like reading the side effects of medicine or the sweepstakes, the different rules and regulations.
I'm like,
God bless, man.
God bless Excalibur. All right. But let's give props. I do feel like you're correct. Like I thought last night was a solid Dynamite. I thought there was another solid Dynamite. Now, as I said before I let you go, like Hangman Page used to be my favorite good guy. I don't know what's going on, but he's still like nuts, I guess. Is that
I think he was affected by the fast pace of the shows. Like he ended up watching the shows and he became affected by everything going on. So that could be the only explanation.
That could be it. And they were trying to say last night, like, he used to be a champion.
I was gonna say I've been liking the stuff with Jeff Jarrett, actually. Like, if we're not gonna get Hangman and Swerve at All Out, which maybe we'll get it all in because they're setting it up. Swerve and Hangman, I feel like that's happening.
I say Danielson Swerve, Hangman's going to somehow interfere and try to mess up Swerve, but then it probably all backfires or something.
I really hope not. I feel like if this is Bryan's last match, we need to have a straight up one-on-one match.
Yeah.
You don't want to ruin that moment, I think, and you can do that the week after. You can do that on Dynamite the week after, set it up. But I can also see how that can happen at All Out as well. I hope not for. Getting the moment. And if you're making this a big deal, like a title versus career match, I think that's what the focus needs to be on for right now. And then you can turn your attention to Hangman. Right now, Hangman has the Jeff Jarrett thing. Jeff Jarrett, what a it's just crazy how over the years, he always finds himself in a spot.
Somehow he gets himself back in a good spot after kind of like lollygagging. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, now I'm looking at him again. Now I'm like, oh, he is kind of great. And then before you're like, oh, Jeff Jarrett is thrown in this, but he always seems to come out of it. Okay.
Yeah. There's like a connection. The fans recently with the whole Owen Hart,
it's great
tournament and everybody wanting to, and that promo, I think it's so interesting how you really one promo, one match, like Bronson Reed, that one night beating up Seth Rollins, or Jeff Jarrett in that promo, that can change the trajectory of your entire career. Look at what happened to Becky Lynch when that right before Survivor, she was Nia Jax, and then she became officially the man. So I just love those stories. Like when someone says, "Oh, I don't have the opportunity," but I mean, look at take advantage of these moments.
When are you writing your book? I think you'd have such a great, I want to write a book too someday, but your book would be really fascinating. Like, I think just this whole wrestling side, everything. Would you write one?
I mean, other people have asked like that too. And I don't know if I have like the patience, because, I'm always like writing articles and things like that. And I don't have, but if I had I don't know, maybe a collaborator or something, or I don't know. I don't know if I could do it, but I wouldn't even know what I would write what I would nail down.
I think it must be like tales of the like tales of the ring, like your interviews, what you've gone through, your fan, like all of that would be so interesting. I was thinking of writing a book, but I'm like, would anyone care?
Right. Like, I don't want to do all that. And then, like,
I don't want to do all that. People are like, well, we don't give a crap. So,
yeah, you're right. Imagine writing like all those pages and all that time. And then, but at least you did, you would say you did it, but I don't know.
And I have to think about it. Well, on that note, we will be back next week, I think Thursday, and then we're going to do our All In. We've got All In coming up on the 25th, right? Right.
Yes.
We hopefully, if our schedules align, we will do a post show after All In with our immediate reactions to it. Now, maybe 35 hours later, because the show goes so it'll be like, Michael, it's 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, should we have dinner right now? Should we pack a lunch? I don't know. Do I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Oh, you could go out like for a drive for 3 hours and come back and it's still going on, right? No, but I mean, hope
I don't know. I mean, AEW does deliver on pay-per-view. You will say that you get your money's worth.
Definitely.
And it's interesting that I think Fight TV, I don't know if pay-per-view in general is doing it, but Fight TV is doing like a bundle deal, which I think is a really great idea. But I don't know if it's that much of a discount when you think about it. It's like $80-something and you get both shows, because normally it's like $50. So you're saving, a couple dollars here and there. So, but I like they're trying something different when it comes to that sort of thing, because they're going to thinking like, is everyone going to be buying these, both these pay-per-views so close together? That equals a year of Peacock.
Is All Out in Chicago?
I believe
it all in London?
It usually is. I don't know off the top of my head, but at the same time, it's going to be like not that long after. Thankfully, they're giving it a little bit of time, but when it comes to it's as opposed to like the same week sort of where. Oh man, I just think these hardworking people. That's all I gotta say. Like, imagine having to like put on this big stadium show,
really hard,
and then right after.
Yeah, it is really hard. Like, I have to say,
September 7th. So
2 weeks.
Last year was September 3rd, and it's gonna be or just around the outskirts of Chicago. It's not gonna be at the United Center though. It's gonna be at the Now Arena. So just so you.
That's
smaller. Where it's kind of it was in there for past years too. So
okay, so I guess we don't have to fly anywhere. That's the good news, right? Nobody's flying anywhere. Any of these?
Not that I know of, unless you're going to book your trip to. You probably would have spent the same amount of money flying from California to Cleveland as you would fly from there to London. Considering what you were telling me.
Yeah. The only thing now is to figure out, the only one on my side of the world is Survivor Series in Vancouver. That's the closest to where I am.
No,
right?
Wrestle Dream, I think, is going to be in Seattle. So, by the way, it's Bryan Danielson, but it's also Swerve too. Country. Swerve country. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Scott. More next week.
Yeah. Real quick though, can we take a look at that shirt and the context? Is that like a koala I see, or is it a?
It's a.
Is that an MJF shirt?
No, it's a. You can't see it. It's a Ralph Lauren teddy bear.
Oh, it's a teddy bear, but it looks like an MJF teddy. Like it could be an MJF teddy bear because it's like well dressed.
There, I'm leaning back. Does it?
Or he's not on a turtleneck though, so it couldn't be Christian. So, but he's buddies, so
it was my ode to MJF, the American champion,
our hero, our US hero.
Our US.
I have a Jurassic Park shirt on, by the way.
So you do?
Yeah,
you do.
So
okay, so we're animals tonight, I guess. I am looking forward to Will Ospreay and MJF, but we'll talk about that next time. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Drop us a comment, and we will see you guys soon. Take care.